and welcome to the Swinging Christies, the Christie Time podcast about Agatha Christie in the swinging 60s. I'm Mark Aldridge, I'm an associate professor. I've written a lot about Agatha Christie, including my books about Marple and Poirot.
Yes, and I'm Grey Robert Brown. I'm a writer, I'm a Christie fan, I'm a ghoul.
You are!
I haunt your life, Mark, Dr. Mark Aldridge.
I was thinking ghoul in the sense of like, you know, as I'm obviously older than you picking over sort of what I've got in my bookshelves and stuff when I'm gone. Like, ghoulishly moving in and going, oh, you wouldn't like this, James. I'm just going to take these books away with me.
Do you know what? I can see that for me.
Yeah, I can too.
If I don't go first, which is possible.
Well, we never know what the future holds. Or we might go together on one of our travels if we go somewhere particularly exotic.
Or, dare I say, we have quite a death-defying little activity to do later in the episode. Maybe
yes, that's true.
That will be the end of one of us. Yes. And there's your teaser, dear listener.
We never want to die ironically.
No.
That's the worst way to die.
Or on air. I mean, how are you? Are you feeling suitably spooky for spooky season?
Well, I do love to be spooked. I am rarely spooked, as I think we discussed last year. I love horror films, but I don't often get scared by them. But I always love, you know, to keep up, see what's happening. And obviously, often with me, keeping up means watching films from like 30 years ago that I never got around to doing. That's the wonder of streaming services, is that they just sort of pop up and go, do you know what, I never have seen, whatever. I watch things all the time. I'm like, I've never actually watched that before.
I'm trying to remember now it was a Shirley Jackson, you said, one of the few films that's actually scared you.
The Haunting. Yeah, very, very few that sort of actually made me feel a bit scared to go around the house.
I can relate to that because, you know, I'm just endlessly stuck in the 60s. Of course you know that. Of course our listeners know that. And then I was sort of thinking about what the next play I write might be. And I was laughing with my partner about it because basically I've made the concession of, I was like, I'm going to be more modern. I think it's going to be set in 1999, which for me is, do you know what? Like it's only, you know, it's not that long ago. Like it's certainly less period than the 1960s, but we'll get there. We'll become thoroughly modern millies slowly but surely, won't we, Mark?
Will we? No, we never will.
Won't.
Did you see, because you'd put a photo of us up on Instagram or something,
yeah.
And then they said, I always thought that you were two old men. I mean, maybe we are. I mean, you don't notice. You don't realise you've become an old man.
Yeah, I did see that. That did make me laugh. So we're going to talk about the fairly recent adaptation of Hallowe'en Party from 1969.
Hallowe'en Party is a Poirot mystery novel in which a girl is drowned while apple bobbing from 1969.
So the adaptation being A Haunting in Venice, starring and directed by Kenneth Branagh, which was 2023, I think it was released. And we were going to talk about it in last year's Halloween special, and then we just found we had too much to dive into with it, really. And we already had a jam-packed schedule, which included risking our lives in a fiery stunt. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to that episode because it's sick. So that's the plan for today.
Yes, because it's a very rare example of an explicitly horror-themed adaptation.
Yeah.
Like, there are a few. It's not the only one. You know, Pale Horse and the other Halloween Party, much better Halloween Party, written by Mark Gatiss. They are, you know, they've got lots of horror themes in it. But for Agatha Christie, someone who actually wrote quite a lot of horror stories in the 1920s in particular, and earlier, often horror is not what's associated with her.
Yes.
Because it's not her most well-known genre.
Yeah, of course.
But actually, they're very good, her horror stories.
Yeah, and they work for this kind of treatment. We both said that the idea of kind of trying to ape or trying to straddle both genres in a filmic sense is a good one. It does make sense. It's not without its problems, this adaptation, but I think that as an endeavour is not a bad idea, especially when you're 3 films into a series and you're looking for what's different, what's going to bring new people in. Or
I know there were lots of rumblings at the time that they were going to look to do an English Country House one as the third to sort of tick that extra box. But you can understand why, if you're going to do something like Halloween Party, you would make it more of a, well, we were saying last night, we rewatched it last night, and you were saying destination, the idea of setting it somewhere that's striking enough that they're going to put it in the title.
Yeah. Well, look at what they did with Peter Ustinov, which is they sort of have that same thing of going, oh, what's the third best to adapt now? And the only way they can kind of make Evil Under the Sun work is by making it a destination, which is essentially what this version of Hallowe'en Party has done.
Yeah.
I can see why there's just something a lot more worldwide theatrical release about going somewhere striking, especially somewhere like Venice, which is iconic and famous and all the rest of it. I think the thing that we were disappointed about with that, though, is that the opportunity then to engage with another culture's conception of Halloween, or just of, I don't know, paganism or folkloric kind of spooky, any of that kind of those traditions or those other holidays, is missed, because really we just go, oh, the Americans brought us back to the idea of doing something around this time of year when they invaded, lol, and carry on.
Yeah. It's a really funny, not funny, strange, odd mixture of characters we see in it that pays very little attention to the setting, as you say, and is very American, which is a commercial reality. And actually, I think that one of the strengths of the film is definitely its cast, so I'm not complaining about that particularly, but just saying that there's an immediate lack of sort of focus there a little bit, of going, well, what story are we trying to tell? Who are these people? Why are they here? Some sort of structure that made it clearer what everyone was up to.
Yeah.
Then I think it might have been a more effective film.
Well, dare I say, you had a better idea for where they could have relocated to. You said they could do Day of the Dead.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, you're absolutely right. I said South America. Why didn't they go to South America and do Day? Yeah. And
because we talked about this in our Halloween episode. We sort of talked about it again with Jan Carson for our Belfast episode. But every culture has, one of the fascinating things about Halloween is that every culture has its own conception of a sort of middle of winter huddling against the cold day and night where the line between the living and the dead is porous. Like, every culture kind of almost independently came up with that sort of thing, and then it's only the ubiquity of the American tradition that sort of flattens it. But actually, this is the opportunity to engage in some really, you want to talk about diversity, like how about some like actual diverse storytelling, some different perspectives in that.
Yes. I think that there's this thing about using Venice, which it looks beautiful at the beginning, and we also know that this was deliberately scoped out to be a lower budget film than Death on the Nile, which was particularly expensive. And so this idea of really saying, oh look, we're going to isolate them somewhere, and we're going to locate it somewhere that's very distinctive. So you do a couple of weeks filming, perhaps in Venice, to get in all the nice bridge shots and everything.
Yeah.
And then you go into a studio. And you were saying lots of the water shots were in Reading?
Which I guess is down the road from Pinewood, which is where, like you say, most of the house stuff, most of the interiors. And I think they even built the bit of square outside.
Yes. I think they must have for those stunt sequences.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Yeah. So it's already slightly muddled because it's taking bits from the book and reworking it, but it feels like it's trying to do a lot in its sort of 100 minutes. And we were both saying, you were saying in particular, I think, that there was both too much and not enough plot at different times when you're watching it. Like, sometimes you're like, why are we still having this conversation? And characters suddenly appearing that you'd forgotten about, and you're like, oh yeah, you're here,
they were just rattling around the house in another part of the house, I guess. Yeah, very strange. Yeah, there's one sequence in particular which does bring home this idea that we're sort of smashing a whodunit into a horror. Actually, I guess the climactic death has that element about it as well. But the bit I was thinking of in particular was that Poirot does his sort of almost Sherlockian deductions to show that the seance is clearly fake, and to bring us rationality and to bring us into the world of a Poirot story.
Yeah.
And then Michelle Yeoh, as Joyce Reynolds, the medium, who's in this version is a medium, interrupts it by just sort of flailing and giving this incredible down the barrel of the camera sort of hallucinatory freak out. It's quite something, and it's completely beyond his comprehension, and it baffles him, and it challenges what he thinks he's just established. And it is as if the film is going, no, we're adding another layer here. I think all that stuff was really strong. A review at the time, I think the New York Times said that in straddling genres, this film can get sort of stuck in the middle. And I think that is fair. I think the problem is you're sort of being the servant of two masters, right? And then it's hard to know what to obey.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's it. And I actually saw some reviews from like an Instagram influencer or something. Somebody had flagged it up that they'd gone to see it thinking it was just a normal horror film and was very disappointed because it has got moments that are very almost cliche horror, like the visions in the mirror and all that sort of stuff. But which is in the trailer, the trailer does make it look like it's more of a traditional horror film, I think.
Yeah, but which to a Christie fan like me, someone that's less versed in horror, like that stuff like that goes, oh, we're doing this. You go, oh, we're doing this now, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you're also trying to get the sophisticated horror connoisseur like yourself, who does know, well, I'm not calling you sophisticated. I mean, you're
thank goodness, sort of terrible.
Your tastes, the knowledge, not you yourself, then yeah, it needs to be a bit subtler and a bit smarter. And yeah, I agree. I was going to point out there's a sequence really early on where Poirot is measuring the eggs of I think it's like a market stall guy with the two eggs.
Yeah.
And that's a deliberate callback to him doing the same thing in Orient Express. I don't know if he does it in Nile.
I can't remember doing it in Nile, but
I hope he didn't do it in all three. That's a bit much, isn't it?
Did.
But he definitely does it in Orient Express, the first film.
Yes,
and it feels, like that's such a bizarre scene in a horror film.
Yeah.
But it's almost like some executive has passed a note to say we have to reassure the audience that this is still Poirot and he still has these idiosyncrasies, and it's a neat callback, I suppose, to sort of round out this particular Poirot, but it does also feel a bit out of place.
Yeah, well, because that's not also the direction we go in.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting. Could you pass me behind? There's the Blu-ray of it. I'm just interested to see. Just above the Sophie Hannah book.
Oh yeah.
Just interested to see. No, there is no mention of Agatha Christie on the cover.
No, I remember you saying this. That even like in the trailer and the announcement and stuff, it wasn't.
No. Kenneth Branagh stars as celebrated sleuth Hercule Poirot in this terrifying mystery set after World War II. So no mention of Agatha Christie.
Don't say they've consigned her to the small print.
She is. Well, Agatha Christie Limited is listed as one of the production companies.
I mean, legally she has to be in the smaller credits, no?
Yeah. Oh, here she is. Oh, it's so small I can't even read it.
Oh yeah. So as that blurb mentions, one of the most interesting things of this adaptation from our perspective is that we've moved the setting. And as a lot of the adaptations do, we've made it more closer to the quote-unquote golden age of the early 20th century, rather than when the book is actually deliberately set, which is 1969, and when it's published, which is 1969. But we have at least moved it later than the Suchet series does. It's 47?
I think 47, yes. And when I saw that it was going to be in Venice, and obviously in the earlier era, which I expected it to be, I thought, well, how are they going to explain there's a Halloween party? But they do, to be fair. They say they blame it on the Americans. They say the Americans brought Halloween with them. I'm not convinced by that for a second, but I am going to say at least they try and say, look, there's a particular reason why people might celebrate Halloween, because it's a tradition that the Americans during the war.
Yeah, I think it's... I would also question the veracity of that history. I mean, if any listeners know more about it than us, then do write in. I certainly don't believe in the bunting that is stretched across the street that conveniently has a pumpkin on one flag of it and then an American flag on the other.
Oh, really?
Especially given that, so the Americans come into Italy in the sort of middle of the early 40s, so the not right at the end of the war. So it has been a few years, but there is a lot of opposition given the way Italy was governed at the time. there was a lot of opposition to them being seen as like a liberating force. So embracing their traditions, and they had other priorities, other things that they wanted to bring to Italy that weren't pumpkins.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I was also struck by the costumes that all the children wear at the party, that they both look too intricate and too old, I felt. Like they almost looked like they were costumes that already existed and that had an awful lot of time spent on them. But I know that's a very difficult balance to strike, because you could also say, well, it's because people have put a lot of effort in, or, you know, they look old because the 1940s was a long time ago, and you know, they're not going to look like modern synthetic Halloween costumes. But
like we say, I think it's just a shame when the alternative is engaging with an actual
that would have been really interesting,
a deeper spiritual. Or indeed, Italian cinema has a long history of horror itself, right? And especially, it's a shame not to draw on that tradition as well. Yeah, it could have gone
full Suspiria with it, which is amazing. And actually, it's got a lot of similarities now I think about it. That's in a girls' dance school, and that's about spooky things happening, and it's got a lot of similar atmosphere.
And they do make a virtue of the post-war setting. I know it's like cinematic shorthand, but I find there were a couple of very war-y songs used. Like, I think there's a Glenn Miller, and that always irks me ever so slightly, just because I get that just sort of reads to people as the 1940s, but that was not recent in 47. No. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's just a slight disconnect for me. But I will say there are several moments of where the script sort of works hard to justify this post-war setting and to link it in. And, you know, we've got a character with what's clearly supposed to be PTSD, and there is a moment, there's some really lovely lines of dialogue in it, and there's a moment where Poirot says, "I've seen 2 wars, and no, I don't believe in the spiritual good of humanity." And it's all part of his kind of, he's retired and reclusive in Italy, and there's a long history of, especially with the First World War actually, but I guess the Second World War, of people turning to spiritualism as a means of, they're not necessarily realizing they're doing this, but as a means of coping with the colossal loss and death and tragedy that they're facing. So last year I made you play Snapdragon.
Yes, made me play Snapdragon.
I'm
here under duress. You know.
Are your fingers still burnt? Have you?
No, don't forget I won, and don't burn.
Oh, I didn't.
If you do it well.
I didn't say you didn't win, but that's very defensive of you.
No, what I mean is that if you're a winner, then it's because you can pick things
so if you're a winner, you're magic.
If you're a winner, you don't get burned.
I thought I thought maybe you'd burned your, because I can see right now, listener, he doesn't seem to have any fingerprints, but I can only assume he's burned them off for other reasons.
Oh, that'll be another great train robbery.
Yeah, coming soon.
Okay, what have you got lined up this year then?
Well, shall we?
Oh, go on. What is it? Oh, okay.
Come on.
It's got to be apple bobbing.
Yeah.
Have I got a bowl big enough?
Is it galvanised?
Is it galvanised?
Guess you don't want to get them wet, do you?
Well, no. I mean, I thought that what I'd do was that whoever was not bobbing would give a commentary and put like the other microphone close to the bowl.
Is there a way of filming it? There isn't really, is there?
No, I don't. I think we'll. That's too much of an indignity. So we're ready.
Oh my god!
I think neither of us have ever apple bobbled, but apple bobbled.
You're giddy with excitement already.
Oh my goodness! This is our lunch.
Yeah.
So if you don't get an apple, you're going hungry.
We're like Tina Fey's Ariana. Yeah, it's
not a galvanised bucket.
It's not a galvanised bucket. It's James's mixing bowl.
It's James's mixing bowl.
He's very indignant about it, in fact. But it was that or the cat litter bowl. So we've made a smart choice here.
Yeah, where's the bucket these days? I don't know. So
come on.
Am I going
Winner
first?
Gets the first edition. We should have some spooky music or something.
We should. So you're not meant to use your hands.
Well, famously, because otherwise you could just
do that.
I
need to even hold the bucket or anything.
Can you? Let me see if I can catch some Foley. This is the bubble bucket. Yeah, can you hear the splashing?
So, do you like apples?
Well, we're about to find out.
I like apples.
Okay, he's going in. He's going in. Oh, I think I should time it really, shouldn't I? You should have like 30 seconds.
You're assuming that either of us will ever do it.
That's true.
I guess you're not allowed to pick out by the stalk. I guess that's against the rules.
No, you could do that, can you?
Well, I'll do it right way then. All right.
That's
Right. I might try.
6 seconds.
Oh, you go.
No, that's 6 seconds in. Sorry, not to go. Oh, okay. Hey! He did it! He's dripping.
All I can say is I was so pleased I could swim. Because I really went under.
Oh no, don't say that. I don't know if I've mentioned listeners, but I can't swim. You look damp, Mark.
I am damp.
Dry yourself off.
Oh.
Okay, that was inside 30 seconds. Very good.
Okay, that's good for a podcast.
Okay, I'm just washing a new apple for me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Are you ready? Oh, you were eating it.
Yeah, that's what it's for. I've got white marks in it.
Well, this one's got a leaf. That might help me out.
No, you're not allowed to pick from the stalk or
fine,
anything.
fine. I'm going to take my glasses off.
Oh, yes.
I haven't shaved, so is that a problem?
Why would that be a problem?
I don't know, it's just more things to get wet, isn't it? On my face. More face furniture. Do you not think?
Oh, look, even Fuzzy's been so excited.
Oh, the cats are spectating the apple bobby as well. Cats are kind of hallowed.
All right, enough. Go.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, it's really hard.
You've got to go under, Gray.
I feel like
You've got to go for it. You've got to go under. You've got to go for it. That's it. Way!
Easier than I thought.
Well, it took you long enough for something that's easier than I thought.
This could have been improved by soaking it in brandy, couldn't it, really? Which is what we did last year.
It is 11:30 in the morning.
And this podcast needs an intervention. Okay, nice. Back to the episode.
So we're now going to talk a bit more about the film's relationship with the book, which is obviously going to be complicated. And they did republish the book in the run-up to the film, but as A Haunting in Venice, but also Hallowe'en Party on the title. I think there are different editions of the book, some of which highlight Hallowe'en Party and some of which highlight Haunting in Venice. But the most interesting thing for us is it's got this foreword from Michael Green, who wrote the script.
Yes.
Which is it's sort of an apology in terms of it saying, I know some of you are always going to be unhappy that I've made these changes, and I know this book is not what the film is. So I thought it was quite a nice way to approach it, really.
Yeah, I agree. Because he literally says a murder's been committed and it's me and I murdered this book. And you can tell that he knows his stuff and that he's, I'd rather someone engage with it than not. And also we've said time and time again that adapting is exactly that, and changes need to be made, and that's absolutely fine, and we can see where they come from. And I think my only slight critique of that forward is more, I would have loved to hear why he made some of those changes, not because I want to berate them, but just because it would be interesting to hear. I mean, we can interpret things like we think they've gone to Venice because destination or whatever, but it would have been nice to hear some of that explicitly. But it's interesting, he pulls out in particular that the book is, the original book is very shocking, which I think is true. And he pulls out specifically because of how young the first victim is, Joyce. And I wondered if that is part of the reason why we don't get a young Joyce victim in this book. Although we do get a Joyce killed, actually, arguably in an even more grisly way than Joyce is killed in the original book. But it's not quite the same seeing an adult,
a grown-up who's a fraud as well. So they're
so she asked for it.
Oh my goodness.
No, we must never kill Michelle Yeoh. I love her. She's amazing.
No, it's funny, isn't it? Because it's one of those things you go, why keep the name? Like, I don't know if that inflames it a bit more even.
Maybe.
Say, why call her Joyce?
There were quite a lot of little Easter eggs like that. I mean, I don't mind that per se, because then you go, it's almost as if the screenwriter's going, I have read the book. Like there are, like when they chuck in Le Mesurier in Labours of Hercules. I don't mind that per se. And actually, I did find there were quite a few Easter eggs like that where you can see the ghost of the original person or part of the action or whatever from the original book, even if it's changed slightly. Yeah,
I have to say, when I went to see it, I'd been forewarned a little while earlier because of the Poirot book, my Poirot book, that it was going to be really very unlike what Hallowe'en Party was. So I was quite surprised when I saw how much Halloween Party is still in it.
Yeah,
so even
I
the way
agree.
that Ariadne brings Poirot into it, obviously things like the apple bobbing, the fact there's an actual Halloween party, which is now not in the title.
Yeah.
So like you could have even dispensed with that and just had it entirely sort of, a seance and spookiness.
Yeah, I agree. I felt the same. I think maybe some quarters of the Christie kind of fandom was so outraged by some of the changes that it became this bears no relation to Halloween Party, but I don't think that's true at all. And even it's funny, I didn't notice it on my first watch, but when Ariadne is sort of accidentally tipping Poirot off that she's maybe kind of been using him for quote unquote content, she talks about when they first met, and although this meeting is not from Christie, the case that she mentions is mentioned in Halloween Party. She talks about the Canning Road municipal baths murders.
Yes.
And that is in Halloween Party. That is
okay,
explicitly mentioned in the book.
Nice.
So even little moments like that, you go, yeah, there are the shadows there.
Yeah. I mean, it's as close to the book as some other adaptations are.
Do you know what my favourite kind of Easter egg that showed that there is an appreciation and knowledge of Poirot beyond this is the fact that he's tending to root vegetables at the very beginning, because famously in the books, Poirot is always talking about going and growing marrows when he retires, and that's what he does at the start of The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. The shorthand for Poirot in retirement equals vegetable marrows. It just kind of as a clear visual, it just works. And of course, root vegetables, although they don't really then feature in the film beyond that, there is a thematic link between the marrow and the pumpkin.
Yes, that's true. Can I just say to listeners that Gray got really animated during talking about root vegetables? The arms came up. He was very excited.
Because I'm vegan.
Oh my goodness. Is a pumpkin a root vegetable?
Yeah.
It grows on a branch, doesn't it? On the ground,
isn't
but
it
on the branch.
There's a word for them,
Like a
isn't there?
surface vegetable.
It's like a... Don't you come from my vegan credentials? No, I think you're right. It's like a tomato being a fruit type thing, isn't it? Oh, it's a fruit.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just like you.
Whee! I'm going home to sleep with my wife.
Culturally and nutritionally speaking, pumpkin and squash are used similarly to root vegetables. Says someone on Reddit.
Yeah, we could all say that things are culturally. It's true that I'm a genius because I've decided.
You would swap a pumpkin and a squash out in a recipe.
Oh yeah, you would. Yeah. So you had an idea about how that could have tied in even better with Halloween Party. What could we have seen?
Yeah, because people did, historically, we talked about this in our Halloween episode, hollow out other root vegetables and or fruits, as we've just learned. Why did nobody hollow out a marrow? That's the obvious thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Take it one step further. I think between that alteration and your Day of the Dead note, our version of this story is shaping up to be pretty incredible, dare I say.
Yeah, and we are available.
We're very busy, and they can't afford us.
Hey, look, Hollywood moves really slowly. By the time it gets out of production hell, we'll be in our 60s.
It's true. Well, you in your 60s and me in my 50s. Speaking of Hollywood, Tina Fey as Ariadne Oliver. I actually really like Tina Fey. And I
love Tina Fey.
Don't mind an American Ariadne.
Not at all.
I think it kind of suits her brash.
Well, she was American in the Ustinov TV movies.
So she was. Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah. So I think it works to make her American.
It does kind of
just
work.
Add Tina Fey to things. Unless it's a booking.com commercial. She always improves stuff.
I did keep thinking... Yeah, there are so many Ariadne Olivers I could be. Like, it is quite distracting.
I could be faithful to the novel.
Yeah. I could turn out to be a fraud. No, but what did she do? I could turn out to be in cahoots with several other characters.
Because I gotta sell some books.
I did think and again, I noticed this last night, and I didn't notice it on my first watch, and I'm sure this is not from the books. But we've taken Ariadne's obsession with apples one step further, and she only eats apples to supper, which I think is one of those
eating disorder.
Yes, it is, and I think it's one of those slightly problematic and questionable things that you get from that kind of Hollywoodified, like glamorous women. Yeah, like you say, glamorizing eating disorders, and because she's sort of a gorgeous, slightly older woman, that's the sort of thing that she would do, and that made me uncomfortable, and feels like a bastardization of what the point that Agatha's actually making with the apple thing, which is that she's obsessive and quirky, rather than unwell.
Yeah,
but the twist with Ariadne Oliver, I think, actually works quite well.
I think it works, and I know a lot of people were very upset because that isn't really an Ariadne Oliver thing to do, but that's within the confines of the film. That's
it
fine.
Isn't, but it also is in terms of it's in keeping with elements of her character.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing that really didn't work for me was when you get the flashback of like, oh, the apple. Why was I allowed to see you just from brandishing an apple? And they had this sort of flashback shot of Poirot's bodyguard or whatever opening the door to her, and she's got like an apple and she's looking at him as if to say, aren't we evil?
Aren't we evil?
And just like, in reality, you'd be like, hiya, so I'm going to go and get him in on this little plan we're going to do, because then we're going to sell some books. Like, it doesn't actually make sense that you go like, oh, look at me, evil person at the doorway.
I completely agree. I mean, I would go one step further and say, is that even the way it would shake down? Because the point is that his bodyguard didn't protect him from Ariadne because he wanted her to come see him because he wanted her to get him involved in the case. So like she could just he could just procure an apple. Like it doesn't need to get an apple from her. And also there doesn't need to be that kind of like, oh, I'm keeping you at the door. Like he could just go, yeah, come on in.
Yeah, he'll see you.
Yeah. We've decided he's going to see you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. And there was another one of those flashbacks that didn't quite. But then I guess you could say
she could have just given him a wink.
That might read as something else.
She could have just literally, as he lets her go and see him, just sort of giving him a wink or a little sly smile as she walked past.
Not to get too deep about it, but when we see flashbacks like that, are we given to believe that they're literal though, or are they supposed to be what Poirot is imagining? Because Poirot in that moment is imagining that she's in a conspiracy against him. Therefore, it's an exaggerated version of how Ariadne looks villainous. Do you know what I mean? It may be that she's playing it that way.
I don't think it's coded that way because we see other black and white flashbacks that we know are real. Well, we know the what happened is real, but we don't know that the way it happened is real. Do you know what I mean? I do know. Yeah. I think we are getting too deep.
You can't be one of those people that says we're reading too much into things because they're banning the podcast. You have to ban your whole career.
Yeah, no, I can see
retire.
that.
Are you going to grow vegetable marrows when you retire?
No.
Do you know what I thought this morning? I had such a bad back when I woke up, and I thought, this is my podcasting back. This podcast has ruined my back because I'm constantly doing this to make sure my levels are good.
It takes like an hour.
It takes longer than an hour, darling. Whereas you just sit back, you're like this, you're like this. We muscling over here, so I can very good over the right. You're in here, and then you're. I am obsessed with Michelle Yeoh. I think she's absolutely incredible, and I absolutely loved her in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think she actually kind of carries the first half of the film.
Oh, definitely. And I think lots of reviews said that as well.
Oh, really?
That they were like, Michelle Yeoh is maybe the best thing in it. And she does.
Yeah. And
that's quite a common criticism. That happens quite a lot of films and TV shows. You see like, wow, they've got this amazing person. Aren't they great? And they're dead.
Because they were able to get such an amazing person because it was only 3 days filming or something. Yeah. It's the same with Penelope Wilton being the best thing about The Murder is Easy, the recent Murder is Easy adaptation on BBC. And she is off very quickly. They do at least extend Joyce Reynolds' lifespan to give us a bit more of Michelle Yeoh. Like I think she dies about half an hour in or something, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Which and the equivalent in the book is much quicker. I really liked the moment where during the seance she basically says, I'm a secretary actually. The voices speak and I take dictation.
That's what a medium is, isn't it?
But also it felt very well. Maybe I'm coloured by the fact that Kemper All About Agatha has just done these 2 episodes on secretaries in Agatha Christie, but also lest we forget that Christie worked that way a lot of the time. She, in fact, especially books by the time we get to Hallowe'en Party and indeed Hallowe'en Party, she would have been dictating. And then I guess a secretary typed it up, and then she would review the manuscript. So, and we talked about that side of her process in our archive episode, didn't we?
Yes. Elements are kept, obviously. Rowena Drake is still the killer. And when we were watching last night, I hadn't really thought too much about it, but I think because we were talking a lot about that we didn't quite follow the geography of what this house is like. And then we suddenly were on the garden on the roof. And you pointed out that actually that's a really good way to keep the garden in. And I love that they kept the garden in too. But it's also placed it somewhere else because gardens in sort of that part of Venice, at least, you're not going to have the sort of garden that you might expect.
And it makes sense because a roof garden is also private, and that's supposed to be an aspect of the sunken garden in the book. It's supposed to have that element of, well, it's supposed to be sort of Eden-like and a bit sort of separate and special. And it's a really crucial setting in the book. So it's really great that they retain it. That's the first, when I first watched this, that's the first thing I really gravitated towards, was the fact that they kept that. And even, you know, when they're piecing the case together and they have pictures of the lovers with the, you know, I think they're rhododendrons in the background or something. I did think there were a couple of shots that looked a little bit garden centre, but generally speaking, and like you say, that is the moment where you're crying out for someone to go, this is how the house works. So we've got that on top, we've got the flooding basement beneath. Unfortunately, it's about an hour before you fully understand. You've got the garden on top, the flooding basement beneath, and some arrangement of rooms between that and
it was very disorientating watching it and going, we're going down a spiral staircase now? And all of this sort of stuff.
Which kind of looked like sort of quote-unquote service stairs.
Yeah.
But then I was like, but we haven't seen a main staircase as far as I'm aware. And I'll tell you what else threw me, which I don't think I said at the time, was, you know, the little interior balcony that Michelle Yeoh falls off?
Yeah.
There's several... I don't know if they were toying with the blocking as to where to do that, but there are quite a few different parts of the house that have those. I guess it's a feature of Venetian architecture, but rather than make a virtue of that one balcony, there are quite a few moments that she could have tumbled off. And indeed, there's a different gantry at the end of the film where somebody tumbles off.
Yeah.
And you sort of go, it smacks a bit of indecision as to where we're going to block this or keeping our options open.
I think it also does that thing of making it clear how well so many other films do it. Like, if you watch Clue, we know exactly where we are all of the time and actually get a really good sense of space.
And dare I say, it's a different medium, not that kind of medium, not the Michelle Yeoh kind of medium, the format. It's a different format, but flags up how well Agatha Christie does it, because with a combination of floor pans and very incisive, descriptive writing, you know, you think something like Fernley Park in Roger Ackroyd, you know exactly the layout, you completely understand. Or is it Murder in Mesopotamia with the all the dynamics of where they are in the courtyard?
Yes,
you know, very efficiently and cleverly done.
Mirrors.
Yeah, and it's harder to do than one thinks. Clearly,
yes. We've also got Leopold still in it, who is blackmailer in both of them, but his story develops in a different way, because in this film, that whole sort of relationship with his father, played by Jamie Dornan, who's the one with PTSD, as you were saying. We were watching it last night, feeling like they maybe were in a slightly separate film, to the extent that we were saying, did Jamie Dornan literally film this separately to everyone else?
Yeah.
Because he was kept so separate from everyone.
And inexplicably too, we kept being like, why is he in... It was like he was in a cage.
Yeah.
And they obviously could have the kid a bit more, so the kid would sort of go between the group and the Jamie scenes, but it was like they did those on different days because of his availability.
But I thought the kid playing Leopold was really good, and I thought that character worked really, really well.
Yeah, like you say, the acting across the board is strong. He does survive, which he does not in the book, and that, I think that was the other thing I was thinking. I said earlier about, was there, as Green says in that foreword, about Joyce as a kid being killed and how shocking that is. Was there an unease about killing kids in this film? And that's evident both in the fact that Joyce is aged up and is allowed to live for longer and then killed, and Leopold is not killed at all. There is a point where his life is threatened.
Yes.
But he does, not only does he survive, but he sort of gets the final monologue, really, of the film.
Yes. There are notable ways that there's differences in just thinking about Jamie Dornan that we were watching with James, my partner, and all of us were incredulous again at the way that his character dies, which is stabbing himself on a sort of sword. And honestly, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't make sense.
It's just not physically possible. I don't
certainly
believe
not the way we saw it, which, as we said, was like a butter knife through warm butter.
Yeah, it would have to be so incredibly sharp. But also, I don't know if I don't think it feels earned psychologically as a character moment.
There is this thing though that I really liked about it, which was where Poirot says, he was actually murdered by telephone because he got the phone call to say, I know that you're the blackmailer, and then he realises actually his son is the blackmailer and he's going to protect him. So I love that idea of death by telephone, that you can call someone up and be like, reveal something, and then that's enough to trigger them.
Well, it's kind of memento mori, as we discussed in our Mirror Spark episode, but it's also and it does feel vaguely like a sort of murder by hire, like the Pale Horse, that kind of killing. So
we don't get Joyce being drowned in apple bobbing. We don't get anyone being drowned as in dying, but this is a Kenneth Branagh Poirot movie, so Poirot's got to have a lot of the action. So we get Poirot instead being sort of nearly drowned. We were not convinced by this.
I just think it doesn't make any sense that she puts the outfit on him and tells him to lighten up. And I mean, Poirot would whip it off immediately and check his hair hasn't been put out of place by that mask. He would never keep it on, wander around. And the painful thing is, the only reason that he's doing that, it really stretches credulity. The only reason he's doing that is because you need him to go towards the apple bobbing thing in that outfit so that someone can try and drown him, thinking that he's Michelle Yeoh, Joyce.
Having obviously not looked at his shoes, which are actually the first thing you would see as you walk towards him, because he's kneeling on the floor.
Well, it also, not only are you stretching credulity because he's keeping that outfit on, but then because she told him to lighten up, you're stretching credulity because he's then engaging in that game.
Yeah.
Which again, Poirot wouldn't get himself wet.
No.
That's ridiculous.
And that weird dye that he's got in his mustache would come off.
That's true. It should have, that would have been a great shot actually, after the attempted drowning, if the mustache was just all sad and sort of droopy.
Because it's funny, this thing about the hair. Obviously, we know that Poirot in the books dyes his hair even when he's too old for it. So I'm not saying that's out of character, but it's almost too naturalistic. It's like, if you're going to say he's dyed it, then make it look a bit too dyed.
Well, to me it was...
Because he's been grey in previous ones, hasn't he? I'm sure he was grey in the first one.
Yeah, I think, because we looked at photos, I don't think, like you say, it's not a problem of dyeing his hair, but they have actively de-aged him for this film, which, given that it's set in the next decade from the previous two, so he must be older.
Yeah.
The fact that we're swapping out the English setting from the original book to the Venetian setting for the film, there is some attempt to justify that, and I do quite like. So Ariadne calls Venice an ancient relic sinking into the sea, and I mean, you could say the same thing of England. It kind of makes a lot of sense. And she also even draws that parallel. She says that's your mind when you're not on a case, Poirot. Like, that's part of her campaign to bring him out of this rut and this retirement. So sort of thematically there are justifications there. It could have gone a bit further for me, but there is an attempt there.
We noted that in The Independent there was a review that said the director's haunted spaces have a touch of 1961's The Innocents to them, which immediately made me go, I must watch The Innocents again, because I saw it, I think, when I was about 14, so it's quite a long time ago. But yeah, my memory of it is that it's got lots of those sort of held, slightly spooky moments. A bit more like The Haunting than a sort of horror film. And I think the stuff that Branagh does about where he quite often has people placed in the corner of the screen and there's a lot of sort of dead space around them with the like possibility that somebody could come in or that could change.
I see.
Now, from memory... please don't correct me too much because it is quite a long time. That is the sort of thing that happens. So it's just this sort of spookiness.
Well, I mean, it jumped out at me because it's the 60s.
Yes, yeah, no, so that's fair.
And it's sort of, that is more of a piece contemporaneously with the original novel. It feels like we're sort of trying to at least link somehow to the setting of the original novel. Because like we say, obviously we're biased, but it is a shame that there's so much swinging stuff to the novel that you lose by saying it in 1947.
I remember when I went to see it, I saw it at the cinema, It was a long time before you watched it. And I kept saying, you've got to watch it because there's such an important thing about the Swinging Christies project in it, which is that towards the end, it transitions into Third Girl.
Yeah.
That absolutely becomes the whole thing about, oh, well, someone's been given hallucinogenic drugs the whole time. And it just so clearly becomes Third Girl. And I love that about it. I thought actually that was very clever. I thought that really merged the books in a way that I think that sometimes you can get away with, especially with short stories or stuff, or novels that incorporate elements from other. Because now we've got good adaptations of most Agatha Christie novels. I think we can, have this more free approach to them and saying, we can have a film that is mostly taking aspects from this novel, but I also want this clue from this short story or this sort of device from this other novel.
Absolutely agree. That. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think it shows that the team, or maybe specifically Michael Green, the screenwriter, are engaging with the canon as a whole and have read the canon as a whole. And actually what struck me when you said that, because you're absolutely right, it's the Mad Honey, is it?
Yes.
She's sort of microdosing her daughter, and indeed Poirot is given it. Michael Green specifically says in that foreword that he asks for all of the Poirot cases, and he sort of looks at them on the shelf, and then he picks down Hallowe'en Party, and that's the one that inspires him. I think that's a slightly sort of abbreviated telling of the story, because I'm sure there was a lot of back and forth about which one you do, and it sounds like he read them all if he hadn't already, and I can completely believe that you would go that he would have also read Third Girl and The Clocks and Cat Among the Pigeons and thought about, maybe not even intentionally, but just by osmosis, them picking elements from others. And of course it feels vaguely Third Girl-esque because we have someone shoved out of a window.
Yes.
Which is again, we've talked about this in a previous episode, but that's something that Christie doesn't do particularly as a means of killing early in her career, but she returns to it a few times in the 60s. The Patient, for one. Oh, is it The Rat's Not the Patient?
It's both.
Was it both? Yeah.
I think it's both.
Well, there's the suggestion that they might jump out the window in The Rats, and Third Girl.
Yes.
Because the virtue, the point of Third Girl is that we're in these blocks of flats, right? And again, there's been some conception in this film, okay, if we're bringing it into a townhouse where the garden's got to be on the roof and we're in a city and it's congested and there's canals everywhere, then yeah, how are we going to make a virtue of that? Well, that means that you can rise to the top and then plummet from the top. And indeed someone does.
It's not Chekhov's gun, it's Agatha's balcony. There's a balcony. Someone's got to fall from it by the end of the story.
Next episode, it's exciting. We're going to go and speak to John Mallowan.
We are.
Who knew Agatha Christie in the 1960s specifically.
Yes, very well. Yeah, so John Mallowan is Max Mallowan, so husband of Agatha Christie's nephew. And actually, more than just sort of occasionally, seeing each other at family events, actually Max and Agatha were in loco parentis, as we call it. They looked after John and his brother whilst their parents were away. Which was quite often because they travelled and sorts. So so they had a very close relationship. So we're thrilled to chat to John about Agatha in the 1960s in particular. Yeah,
coming next month. Exciting. Please subscribe, rate and review the podcast if you're so inclined, and get in touch.
Yes, you can find us on Instagram at Christie_time. Our Blue Sky is christietime.bsky.social. You can email us at christietimepod, that's prod for productions, @gmail.com.
Whenever you say that, I'm always like, it's also prod for like prod.
Oh, my goodness. We bruised now. I just think people might think it says pod for podcast, you see.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I should have said that when we set it up, really, shouldn't you, darling?
I think I did, actually.
I think it was your idea to add prod, wasn't it? No, it was Google. It was because there's already a christietime@gmail.com. Don't email that. Email christietimeprod@gmail.com.
Yes.
Thanks.
Our website is christietime.com. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Mark Aldridge, on Blue Sky at markaldridge.info, which is also my website address. And of course,
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Keep
bobbing.
Keep spooking. Thanks for listening. This entire episode actually came to you via a medium. We're really dead. The Swinging Christies is a Christie Time project by Dr. Mark Aldridge and Gray Robert Brown. I just like shocking you. This episode was recorded on the 16th of August 2025. Our artwork was designed by Bartlett Studio, and our music is by Dar Golan. I've got a Coda.
Oh, okay.
Which is my gorgeous friend Tierney Flynn, Tierney T for short. We was, you might say, unfortunately for her, happened to be in the room when I put Haunting in Venice on this time last year. And she's not like a Christie person particularly. Doesn't really know much about it. But she had a one-line review of the film, which I thought you might be interested in.
Go on.
So it came about halfway through, and I sort of forgot she was there actually, and then she just ejaculated this one line, and I sort of did a double take. She went, "Is that bloody bird in the book?" You know,
yeah, the cockatiels.
And I was like, that's Kenneth's little directorial flair, I think. No, it is not in the book. But yes, shout out to T. Hi T, if you're listening.
I love. Now you've got to show her Dumb Witness next. They'll be like, "Is that bloody dog in the book?"
Yeah. Cat among the pigeons. Where's the bloody cat from the book?